How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about a really good movie, one of my favorites. First, I should say, the channel recently passed 600 subscribers, so I want to give everybody out there a big thank you. It's always great to see the channel growing, and it happened relatively quickly after 500, so it is cool to see all you guys sticking around. That's really great. And whenever I pass a milestone, I always try to do a good movie, a really classic movie to celebrate. And here I'm going to be talking about a drive-in classic, one of my favorite horror movies and one of the better horror movies out there, and that is The Hills Have Eyes. This is from 1977, written, directed, and edited by Wes Craven, the horror master. This movie stars Susan Lanier, Robert Houston, Dee Wallace, the Scream Queen, and Michael Berryman as the most iconic of the hillside cannibals. In this movie, an RV crashes off-road. It's an average American family going on vacation, but in the hills, there's a family of cannibals that is going to try to attack them and pick them all off one by one. And it's this American family versus this cannibal family, and it's a really good survival movie. And I suppose I do want to say, I really do like films of this era, that whole drive-in period, this grungy horror. They're all really cool, and I really do like them. But that being said, Hills Have Eyes is such a step up from a lot of those movies. It's really fast-paced, which I really do like. There's hardly a minute of dead air. The characters are a little more alive and have a little bit more pop to them, which is really great. But also, suspense in this movie, man. So much of the cannibals just looming overhead, and early on in the movie, they have no idea, and that creepy feeling that someone's watching them. And then, survival. This is a really good survival movie. What would you do in this situation? How would you get out? Really engaging in that respect. So yeah, this movie just had a bit more of a pop than its peers, and it's a reason why it's the classic, why it's one of the better films of this era. Really good. If you guys are fans of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I have a feeling that these two movies would make a really good double feature together. But anyway, I think if I remember my history with Craven, I had seen the big ones, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, but when I got to Hills Have Eyes, this was the one I knew that I really liked his style, and after watching this one, I wanted to go out and find as many Craven movies as I could, and I really love all his stuff. Even the ones that aren't the best, I still find lots of enjoyment in, but there's lots of hidden gems in his collection, you know, things like The Serpent and the Rainbow, really good Voodoo Zombies movie, and then later on in his career he made Red Eye, a really good suspense-filled thriller. So yeah, this is the movie that really got me to examine all of Craven's movies, or at least all the ones that I could find. And yeah, great classic director. Now this movie does have a famous remake that came out in the mid-2000s, and I remember that being good, but it's been a minute since I watched it. I'll probably try to review the rest of the series after I do this one, so I will take a look at that remake eventually, hopefully pretty soon. But that being said, for me, when choosing between the two, I always gotta go with the original. It's a classic for a reason. Really grungy, but with a sense of fun, and that is a thing. If you look at Wes Craven in this point in his career, you would know his first film, The Last House on the Left, really grungy, really dark, and not fun, very dark. But he would take that grunge into his second movie. Well, it technically is third, but the Fireworks Woman was done under a pen name. But he took that into this movie, and he kept all the grunge, all the grittiness, but he didn't make it as dark, and instead he made it kind of a funner, survival movie with a ton more action. And I do love that combination. Grungy, but super, super fun. And yeah, it came out really well. One of the most memorable Craven movies. Definitely a classic. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to analyze the plot a little bit. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want you guys to have a basic understanding as to what the movie's about. And by analyzing it, I can talk about some of the finer points that I alluded to earlier. Anyway, we jump in with a little bit of a prologue segment, and it really does set up what's going to be happening. A girl named Ruby, who appears to be dressed in a bunch of furs, and yeah, looks like she's been living out in the desert. She comes up to this lonely, abandoned gas station in the middle of nowhere, and she has a bag of stuff that she's trying to trade for food. You see, they recently raided a military base for supplies, and the guy at the gas station says, "What are you doing? You've gone too far this time. I'm not going to trade with you." But her family is really desperate, and he says, "The heat's on too high. I'm going to just get out of here. I'm leaving." And that's when Ruby says, "Please, please take me with you." And he goes, "No." But he shoos her away when a family comes to get gas. And so we know right off the bat that there's a family out there. They're getting to be a little bit where they can't stay underground anymore. They're desperate, and this guy is hiding them. A good setup that something terrible is hidden in the hills. We then see the family. Your nice, average American family from the 1970s. Well, maybe not so nice in a few regards, but we'll get to that. And they're there, and the dad is a retired detective, and they're going on a family vacation. They got a car towing this RV, and the dad says, "I heard there was an abandoned silver mine out in the desert somewhere, and I want to take my family to see it." And the guy says, "No, don't do that." Classic horror movie guy providing a vague warning that you really should listen to. But really, even if this wasn't a horror movie, you don't want to get lost in the desert, and abandoned mines are known for caving in and killing people, so even if this wasn't a horror movie, this isn't a good idea. But they get some gas, they explore, they see a few creepy things, and then they're on their way, and they're about to get into the heat of the movie. And I do want to say, this first section goes by pretty quick, only like 10 minutes or so, and then we get right into the action stuff. You want to talk about pacing? You want to talk about moving quickly? We're getting into the action super quick in this movie, and I really want to give Wes Craven props for this. It does in 10 minutes what a lot of other drive-in movies would have taken 30 minutes to do. He is not afraid to just jump into the action with this movie, and that is one of this movie's biggest pros. Anyway, the characters. So as we're driving along, we get a sense of the characters, and these characters just really do feel like real people. I mean, part of the grungy feel of this movie does make everything feel more real, but the characters, it talks about generations, and you can see the difference between the parents and their kids. And you can see the dad is old and he's grumpy, and you can also see the wife is a little spaced out and a little out of it, and you can kind of get this sense of repression from the air. You know, there's a line in this movie where she's always worried about snakes, and the son goes, "What would Freud say about that?" And I think there is a bit of her character to analyze in that respect, a few of the things she says in the movie. So the parents, old, cranky, a little out of it in some regards. And then you get the kids. There's 3 kids in this family. 2 of them, a son and a daughter, are younger, and you can tell that they don't really have as much of a grasp on life. It's more looking at things and in wonder and not understanding them. So when the terror comes, you can tell they don't always know what to do, and it's this part in their life where they're becoming less of kids and more adults, and by the end of the movie, they have to go from not knowing what to do to figuring it out, or they're going to die. And yeah, seeing them in that point of their lives on the transition. And then you get the older sister, Dee Wallace, I believe, and she's married and has a baby. She is at the point in her life where she's striking it out on her own and starting her own family, becoming the generation after her parents, and, starting up her own family. And I really do like seeing these 3 steps, the end of childhood, the beginning of the family, and then the old retirees, the progression of life, the ideas of generations, and you really do see, like, the situations around the people change, but you can still see archetypes, you can still see these type of people in real life, and they're very naturalistic, real people. So I do really like that. They do really pop. Anyway, the RV crashes. They go out into the desert, they get lost. It appears that the mom didn't know where they were on the map and was following a river instead of a road. And all of a sudden, because they wandered too close to the Air Force Base, a plane flies way too low, scares the dad, and he drives off the road and crashes. Yeah, this scene is a little campy, and it is a crucial plot scene, so yeah, the movie's not 100% perfect, but yeah, the plane scares the dad and he crashes, and they have to think what to do. And I really do like the escalating sense of a survival movie. Later on in the movie, survival will be, how do we fight off these cannibals? But at first, we're going to do relatable survival. We're going to be like, your car's stuck in the middle of nowhere. What do you do then? It's the start-off point, but we're going to escalate. And I also, there's this fun joke I really like. Well, I don't think it was intended to be a joke. They decide to go get help. The dad goes back to the gas station, and the son-in-law, the husband of the oldest daughter, goes off in the other direction to see what's down there. And the dad takes his gun, and they ask the son-in-law if he wants one, and he says, no, we only have 2 guns, and one of them should stay with the group. And it's just this, I don't know, I thought it was funny. The idea of, oh no, we only have 2 guns. Most people in horror movies are a little too underprepared, but this is your average American family just going on a road trip, and they only brought 2 guns with them. I don't know, fun American stereotypes, am I right? But anyway, this is the part when we get a sense that something is looming over the family, and it really does a good sense of setup. You don't see the family right away, but you see shots through binoculars, you hear voices on the radio, and you see vague shapes moving in the distance. This is the hills, this is, I guess kind of off Route 66 in the middle of the desert. Big rocks to hide behind. Really cool set. And the idea that shadowy figures are moving around in there. Now, that being said, the first part of the movie, that's what you get. You get the tension, really good, really effective tension, but major props for when you actually see the family, they're still scary. And, like Michael Berryman, Pluto, on the cover, really just classic horror movie villain, really iconic for this film. And yeah, the cannibals are cool. I won't spoil it, but they do have a really interesting, messed up origin story, and all the guys are named after planets for some reason. Papa Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, and Pluto. And then the daughter's named Ruby. I never got that. Why are they all planets except the daughter's just Ruby? I don't know. Maybe the girls are named after minerals and gems? I don't know. But anyway, cool villains, and that's a really good reveal. But eventually, they'll start to see that something's up. The survival becomes bigger. They crank it up. How do you fight off these attackers? And especially the initial scene when they definitely know that there's someone there, when they finally cross paths officially, really good, really intense. But I said all this, and I still haven't mentioned one of my favorite horror movie characters of all time, Beast the dog. Beast the dog is really, really great. You see, this family had 2 German Shepherds with them, Beauty and the Beast. And early on in this movie, sadly, Beauty is killed by the cannibals, and Beast finds this out and decides by himself to go on a warpath of revenge. That's the thing too. He decides to do this by himself. He's not waiting for the silly humans. He doesn't really need prompting. He knows something's up. He knows what happened, and he is going to go out there and, to be honest, do better than the humans do in this movie. He is such a cool character, and the thing is, you have this grungy drive-in American family versus cannibal story. That would be good enough on its own. It is really, really good. But then you add in this subplot about a German Shepherd going on a revenge killing spree. It is just really cool. I love this subplot. It's one of my favorite subplots, one of my favorite characters. If you ever get that question, if you're stuck in a horror movie and you can bring one horror movie protagonist to help you out, who do you bring? My answer is always Beast the dog from The Hills Have Eyes. He's the coolest. He's my favorite character in this movie. One of my favorite horror movie characters of all time. He's a dog, but he knows what's up, and he'll get the job done. That's awesome. But anyway, yeah, this movie is really fun. One of the better of the drive-in air. More life and pop to the characters. A good sense of energy. Very fast moving. The suspense, the action, the survival element. It's grungy but fun, and I really do like that. It's a classic, it's one of my favorites, and it definitely comes recommended. A good film from this era, and one of Craven's best. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This will probably be my Wes Craven playlist. It's one of the playlists I haven't filled out all the way yet, so I am going to be working on it. It is going to get bigger. At this point in time, I know it has Scream and Wes Craven's Chiller. I reviewed that one of the made-for-TV movies. But I also have a complete physical media collection for Craven in there, so if you want to see me talk about more Craven, you can find that here. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.